Hey Elaine.
Yeah.
On March 3rd, 1969, the US Navy established an elite school for the top 1% of its pilots. Its purpose was to teach the lost art of aerial combat and to ensure that the handful of men who graduated were the best fighter pilots in the world. They succeeded. Today, the Navy calls it Fighter Weapons School. The Flyers call it Top Gun Maverick, apparently.
Yeah, Top Gun, Maverick.
That's literally what came up on the screen, though, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, right underneath. Yeah,
Yes.
It's just not Top Gun, and then maybe like a slow fade into Top Gun Maverick.
I think Maverick did come in a second later, but yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Hello, everyone. Here's a Top Gun Maverick podcast for you.
Along with all the others that you're probably listening to at the minute.
Yeah, there's so many of them. This film is getting a lot of traction. And how long did it take to get out? I can't remember when it was actually meant to arrive. Can you? Was it pre-pandemic or was it just
No,
as...
it was just as the pandemic kicked off. Mm-hmm. In the time since this trailer started showing, there has been 2 different Sonic the Hedgehog films.
Oh, right. Wow. That's...
So, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I knew it had been long. And then they pushed it back a bit more. And that typically would mean problems with the film, wouldn't it? You know,
yes.
A film gets pushed where you go, oh, something's happened, rewrites, maybe people have been brought back to do reshoots or the script doctoring. But with this one, I just got the impression that there was no way they were going to put this out when audiences weren't back at the cinema. They definitely weren't going to let it go to streaming at all.
That sounds like a Tom Cruise decision as well.
Totally. I think, and obviously Cruise is massively involved in these as he is with the Mission Impossible franchise. So I wasn't feeling too worried about it, but it was taking a long time. And then the trailers just kept being shown, and you just get a bit of fatigue, don't you? There
is a big risk of that.
Yeah. So going into this film, what sort of expectations did you have?
Well, one of my first memories of seeing a film is going to, as mentioned on the podcast many times, Pharaoh's Videos in Cottingham. And my mum and dad was somewhere else, like maybe getting tea or something like that from like the supermarket around the corner, which is now, I think it's now Co-op, but previously Presto and Safeway where I worked, and before that Grandways.
Grandway? I've never heard of Grandways.
It was a whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad's friend was in there, and he was like, "Oh, I was looking at like the shelf of things. He's like, oh, if you want to watch a film, this is the film to watch." Late 80s, so it was probably 88, I would imagine.
I thought it was like 86.
But but it was out on video by this point.
Oh, right, sorry.
Yes. Sorry. And it wasn't in the new section. It was in like the been out a little while section. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's when it would be out. And obviously we were aware of the Berlin song "Take My Breath Away."
Yes.
I wasn't really interested in it, but there was nothing else that kind of took me. The 2 films that I remember watching that with where I wasn't really interested in watching them, but by the time I watched them, I absolutely fell in love. The other one is Bird on a Wire. The
that's
Mel Gibson, Goldie Hawn vehicle.
There's not many people that are going to be talking about that.
Yeah, well, there you go. But yeah, absolutely loved it. It was the first time I'd kind of noticed about score, because going in, all we knew was the Berlin song.
Yes.
And the fact that it was played all the way through, like as part of the score, and then obviously it goes into it at the very end. But yeah, I mean, the original Top Gun is not a film that would... If I had to do a Desert Island discs of films, and therefore wanted to like mix up everything, Top Gun might not be the representative of like 80s films, but it'd be on the long list for me, 100%. It's a film that I've probably seen top 10 most seen films of mine. And it's just always that. It was just a big boy film in the 80s, 90s, even 2000s. Like when I got my first Sony Ericsson phone that you could type in the ringtones for, I thought I was like it. Like program it in the Harold Faltermeyer, and then of course everyone had it because I found it online. So everyone else had the same thing that was a boy. But yeah, I had a lot of expectations around this, especially when if the reviews had been a bit shit going in,
yes,
I might have tempered my expectations a bit. Yeah. But they have been overwhelmingly positive, I think, so far.
Yeah, and that was that's what I had. I love everything that you said, because it really apart from the Pharaoh's video in Cottingham experience, which I have not had, all of that atmosphere you've built around the film being this very machismo, big planes, big men, big fighty.
Yes.
I loved all of that. Like, I know you could, I'm going to park in a corner all the problems with that.
Yes.
But there are times where you just want to sit down and see some movie stars in a plane fighting with the baddies.
Yes.
And that is absolutely what Top Gun was for me. I mean, it's incredibly homoerotic when you watch it now. I don't think I picked up on that at the time, but like
hanging with the boys.
Yeah, and I find that really fascinating and such an interesting read of it as well. I loved that. Obviously, I mean, no, anyone who's listened to the podcast before will know this already before I even say the words, but I loved Val Kilmer. I really like the idea of Iceman. And actually what I really, really loved, and we might delve into this later on in the pod, I really loved that idea. Iceman, yeah, he was it was an arsehole, but he was right. He was good at what he did, and he was saying to Maverick, you are a problem. You are dangerous. You're problematic. You're not working with the team. You're not a team player. Yeah. And I really, really like that. So we often paint Iceman, or Ice, as people seem to be now calling him, we paint him as being the baddie because the goodie to us is Tom Cruise as Maverick. But actually Maverick as a character, as the name suggests, he's not infallible. He is a character that really needs sometimes to take a good hard look at himself.
Well, he wasn't even considered the best in his troupe. Like the guy at the beginning, is it Cougar? At the beginning of the first film, like he has an episode on the plane and Maverick has to bring him down with him. Yeah. And Strickland from the James Tolmos makes it clear, like, you were number 2, now you're number 1, so now you're going to Top Gun.
Yeah.
So yeah, he is. I mean, the whole first film, obviously there is a big competition, which is barely touched upon. It's touched upon a bit, but as a sports fan, we have big debates about like who's better. Me and one of my mates is at a big thing at the minute. Who's better, Harry Kane or Wayne Rooney at the prime? And that's Iceman versus Maverick, because Wayne Rooney is this like loose cannon who can absolute game changer, but Harry Kane is just that consistent,
like
always yeah. It comes in out of form. It's not quite the most best example, but yeah, he is the more safe hands. He's going to score the same amount every time, but Wayne Rooney will pick out an absolutely spectacular goal out of nowhere, and that's what brings me towards the original Top Gun.
And I really love the fact these are the best of the best. This is what they talk about that in the original film. They say, you are the elite, and that gives you as a viewer that sense of wow. So it's not just a group of people who are pretty good at what they do. These are the top. We're gonna say it in a voice. Men, the top guys in Naval Air Force who are just so far ahead of everyone else, and I love that. And again, like you say, who is the best of the best?
Yes.
It's really, really compelling. Alongside the idea that you're. I mean, the politics of the original film really washed over me at this, because I saw it a lot when I was a child. And even now, I still can't quite. So it's a little bit wishy-washy, isn't it? At times. But then you've got the aerial fights and and I loved all of that. I'm yabbering on about Top Gun a bit too much now, so I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it, and I think for what it is, I think you've got to look at it and what it is. It's a bold, brash, and I'm going to say full of boys and bravado Tony Scott film, and I love it. I think it's a brilliant film, and I think if anyone, if you're sitting on the night time, a bit of Top Gun comes on, you just end up watching it.
Yeah, it is one of those films where if it comes on, wherever you join it, you will carry on to the end.
And a huge amount of heart as well, actually. I know you talk a lot about the action, but a lot of heart. You really get to know these people, you like them, even though you know that they're quite narcissistic and troublesome at times.
That Meg Ryan line reading of, he loved flying with you. He'd have done it anyway, but he really loved flying with you. It just breaks my heart every time. I mean, yeah, it's the whole goose thing. And I think that perfect
casting between Anthony Edwards and Tom Cruise, they look like very much the odd couple, don't they? But
Yes.
and that's the dynamic of that relationship within the plane.
Yeah.
And we all get it. We all
Yeah.
know why Anthony Edwards wears the Hawaiian shirts and why he's got the tash, and then he towers over Maverick, and we know Maverick at the front of the plane making all the decisions and being the risk taker. I think it's really, really interesting. So yeah, it's a very long roundabout way to go. I was worried because I'm never convinced, in terms of sequels, where it's going to take us. It can go one way or another, can't it? We could be Godfather Part 2 or Godfather Part 3, and I still do like Godfather Part 3, but there are times where things really get pulled back from the original.
I think it's a bit of a trope. We bring the main character back. We've got very few, if any, of the original cast back. We've got a whole new set of pilots for him to train. That worries me. That worries me every single time. We've not spoke about this.
No, we haven't.
I would see it on Thursday. You went to see it on Friday. It's now Monday.
It's been a long time.
Yes.
And for anyone listening at home, you cannot imagine the amount of highway to the danger zone, the amount of bomb we've been doing around the house, or do. I mean, literally, it's been every 2 seconds.
Yes.
But we haven't actually said what we think of the film.
Okay.
So, spoiler free. What do you think?
I could pick holes apart in this film, and I will pick holes apart in this film. I don't care. I love this film.
Yay!
I think so. A lot of the publicity has gone around the state of the stunts and the technical. How state of the art they are, how technical they are, how many cameras they use to do it. The biggest compliment I can say is I did not think of that once whilst watching it.
Either.
I was drawn into the narrative that was being told by these stunts. And you know what? This is a paper thin plot. This is your basic Pete Maverick Mitchell goes back to the high school. He's got a crusty dean. It's essentially, this is the comparison I'm going to use. It's essentially Sister Act 2. Because you've got the teacher that doesn't play by the rules.
As well.
You've got
the kids.
The kids, one of which has got a storyline. The rest are pretty barely drawn out. You've got the crusty dean in Don Ham who wants to take him down and doesn't like his methods.
Won't let them go to the won't let them go to the choir.
Yeah, but there is this overarching thing which means you can't fire him, and that is basically it.
It is. Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah,
I will think of that forever now. Yeah, it is. I know you're absolutely right. Paper thin plot can see certain things coming a mile off, but not others. But it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter.
And then we're in a spoiler-free zone now in a minute, so a spoiler-free danger zone. But
clunky, but I'll let you get away with it.
There is something that happens in the third act where I was like, oh, and I didn't know how I felt about it, but by the end, absolutely fine, absolutely fine, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I had the same. I think we're coming at it from exactly the same direction.
I just sat there happy as Larry.
Yes.
Just watching this. Just watching this and walked out with a spring in my step. And
for me, it's not just the nostalgia. There's a huge amount of nostalgia. The first 10 minutes, you're essentially, you're getting the music, you're getting Tom Cruise on his bike with his jacket on, and we're back, and he looks like he's having the time. And I think that really sold it to me when he's on that bike and he's having his, people talk a lot about the megawatt smile, and he really does have it when he's doing his movie stuff on that bike with the camera right in his face, with the hair blowing behind him. You are with him. You are like, he is having the time of his life on this.
Yeah.
I am having the time of my life on this, and it's only 10 minutes in.
Yes.
But beyond that, beyond the nostalgia, I think this is brilliantly plotted. I know you're saying it's a paper thin plot, and I totally agree. And, the Sister Act thing, I think I'll think about all night now. But for what it is, it was compelling. It was. There were times when I thought, oh, we're going to go here. Things curve round. Certain things that you think are almost like this is why these two aren't getting on. That's actually not what it is at all.
I agree with you there.
And I think it's been really cleverly done. And whilst I know that there's been a lot of people who've been doing the script, there's a lot of writers on this, and like Christopher McQuarrie's come in and done some writing. There's been a lot of hands, and sometimes that real mix of too many people on the writing team, you can sense it, you can smell it, you can think, this has had so many people have a crack at it. In this case, I think it's really worked well because people have looked at this in detail and they've worked it through and they've workshopped it. And partway through the film, it moved from one scene to another. And I thought, wow, this is so well edited. I don't normally have conversations like that with myself in the cinema. Like, I really don't tend to think that technically. I tend to be like, oh, do I feel like it's emotional or what are the action like? But I was really watching, it was actually quite a really, not a boring scene, but it wasn't something that was full of action. And I was just thinking, this is really what they've really paced it well. They've taken us over here. We know we're over there. And I could imagine the board with, everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything's sort of like, I can't think of the words. Everything's like laid out, which I know you would do with the film, but mapped out with a real sense of detail and drive, and not just throwing it in there because, now we're moving to this scene, or now we're moving to that one. So I really, really, really enjoyed it. And like you say, I can pick holes in it, probably be here for weeks. There are things that are so laughable at times. It's like, if I hated this, or if I just wasn't feeling it, it would be, stars would be getting knocked off because I would just be rolling my eyes. But actually, I just laughed with it, and I just thought, you know what, I will let you get away with that.
And it might just be that my relationship with Top Gun gives it more passes, and I'm happy to wear that bias on my sleeve, and but. Yeah.
And I don't, like you said, we keep saying, I just didn't care. I shrugged it off because I just thought, you know what, I want to come back and watch this again.
Yeah.
And just that sat in the cinema, it's a real cinematic experience. Sat in the cinema, in your seat, just immersed in this big, brash 80s film. But now.
Yes. Should we go into spoiler territory?
Yes, yeah.
Because I want to touch upon the characters. I want to touch upon that. But I think this is highest recommendation from us. Especially like if you've got any affinity with the original, don't be put off by the fact that it is just what seems to be just a cash in of.
Yeah,
Zach goes back to Bayside High as a teacher. It's not that. It's so much more.
Yeah, it's got a lot more to it.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Spoilers.
Right.
Oh, that was a right.
Can we discuss the kids?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, let's go for it. Who do you want to do first?
Well, let's start with the only one that's got any agency in this and any sort of backstory.
Rooster?
Yes.
I hated the fact they called him Rooster. I was a bit like, I know he's Goose's son, but like, I know what else would you call him. I suppose it had that sort of like machismo about it, but I mean, Goose wasn't very macho, was it? But yeah, Rooster.
I've got a warm to Miles Teller because I really like him, and I'm the only person who thinks this, probably, but I really like him in the remake of Footloose.
Okay.
Where he is the best friend, and I think he's perfectly placed to be that. And then he went off the rails a little bit. There was a few really arrogant interviews where
I don't remember these interviews, but I remember people talking about them and saying, oh, he's not coming across well, but I don't remember listening to them or reading them.
And then there was Fantastic Four, which didn't help anyone involved.
Yeah.
Apart from Michael B. Jordan seems to have got past it, but everyone else seems to be sort of stuck somewhere.
Well, I'm not convinced that's the case, and I'm going to pick you up on that, because Billy Elliot from around these parts, what's his name? Jimmy Bell's in that, isn't he? And Kate Mara, who is also in it, are now married and have a child. So I think they've done pretty well out of it.
Not necessarily their acting careers, though. I mean, Jimmy Bell's done all right.
Kate Mara's done really well. Both of them have done very well. I think they've, I'm just gonna leave that there, hun. Okay. I'll respectfully agree to disagree.
Tell me what you've seen Kate Mara in.
I can't think of anything at the moment, but wasn't she in? You've watched her in. Oh, what's that program that had Kevin Spacey in?
House of Cards.
House of Cards.
That predated this. She was
before that.
She was dead by this point.
I have seen her in. Yeah, I have seen her in stuff.
You've seen her in The Martian, which was released
Have I?
about the same time, but since then there's not been a lot. I'll tell you now.
Okay.
I mean, look, she's clearly enjoying life with her husband and things like that. I'm not there to criticise her. But yeah.
Right. Move on. Let's go back to Top Gun. So what was it? So it was Miles Teller. So yes, I understand, and people weren't particularly. They weren't warm towards him, weren't they? But
No.
I heard an interview that Chris Hewitt from Empire did with Miles Teller, and he was fine. He was absolutely fine. And Chris Hewitt himself said he was, excellent, nice guy. Enjoyed speaking to him. Talked to him a long time about Whiplash, which is one of Chris Hewitt's favourite films. So it's like it was a good interview.
I find it interesting that he has said that though, because it must be kind of like he's got this reputation, but I want to make everyone clear.
So but he does really come across well in this film. He really does. There's a lot of good work going on.
One moment aside, which is when him and Tom Cruise are in that downward spiral and they're shouting at each other, and it's almost like, you're not my real dad.
Yeah.
You're grounded. Yeah. And there was one moment where I was like, ooh, I would have, yeah. But aside from that, I loved the little turn that everyone expected, that the reason he hated Maverick was because his dad died, but it's not. Like, they've clearly had a relationship beforehand, but he blocked his entry into the military academy.
Yeah.
Put his career back 4 years. And I think he's really good in this, and I really hope to see him in some more stuff. Like I said, as
he has got stuff coming out, because that interview talked about things that were coming out in the future, and he actually talked about. So it's a really, really good interview. So if anyone's interested in sort of listening to Miles Teller, I'd really, really recommend checking out the interview that Chris Hewitt did with him, because I just learnt so much. And he talked about the audition process, and he talked about the fact that he wanted some advice on a film from Tom Cruise, and like, when you're hanging out with Tom, you kind of go, well, I might as well ask the most, one of our most famous sort of movie stars who produces so much and so much. And he said he ended up talking to him for 2.5 hours, and in the end he had to put the phone down on him and say, Tom, I have to go. Like, I have to get some food. My wife's inside waiting. But he said because Tom is just so engaged in the industry, he will sit with you for 2.5 hours and talk to you through your film and through your career. And that was just really, really interesting insights. And so he has got, new stuff coming out that Tom's given him lots of advice on. So yeah, it'll be interesting what he does next. I think this really gives him a really good platform, because so many people are going to see this film.
Yeah. People
are going back multiple times, and it's getting great reviews. People saying it's a film of the year. But yeah, I enjoyed Rooster, and I, like you say, I really like that tone, because I just thought, this is going to be a bit sort of. I just wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe that he would hold a grudge for that period of time, especially when you see Maverick has got the pictures of him in his uniform and growing up, and he's clearly been involved in his life. It's not been one of those things where, 30 years on, I've never seen you, and they know each other. They know each other well, but it is that, and I like that. It's a bit clunky, but I like that thing of saying, his mother, Meg Ryan, before she died, because we didn't want to invite her back, so she's dead as well. Before she died, she didn't want him to die the same way as Goose did. It's believable.
Since we're in spoilers now, I will say that's the one thing missing from the Sister Act 2 thing, is her coming into the military base somehow at the end and seeing him flying and accepting him as a pilot.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
That
you're
is the one
right.
thing missing.
Yeah, but I didn't miss the others from the. I mean, I didn't miss Kelly McGuinness. I didn't miss Meg Ryan. It wasn't that I felt that it fell apart.
I hate it during a film when they just drop a character, and what happened to Charlie?
Yeah,
I mean, the reason is because Kelly McGuinness looks like a 64-year-old woman now,
and she says she just doesn't want to be back in that world
whereas
again.
Tom Cruise has got the L. Ron Hubbard fountain of youth somehow, and supping from that very gladly.
God, isn't he just, when he's doing that scene with, is it like American football, and he's got his top off, and I'm like, oh my God, the man's 60. I mean, brilliant. I'm not like aging.
He's 60 next month.
He's 60. But wow, what is going on there? I mean, I know he's like multi-millionaire Tom Cruise, and he's probably got, a personal trainer and a beautiful gym, but still.
I think it would be visually jarring to see. It's sad because Kelly McGillis looks like just like a normal 64-year-old woman, and therefore to put them next to each other, it would be a little bit like which one's been in stasis for 20 years.
To be fair, I think Jennifer Connelly looks really love. It always sounds really insidious.
Can we come back to Jennifer Connelly?
But we can. But I just want to make this point. I think she doesn't look. You know, they didn't pair him with, for example, a 35-year-old.
Yes.
Which they do sometimes do in the Mission Impossible films, I have to say. And I love the Mission Impossible films. I think she's a woman in her 50s.
She is.
You could see, you know, obviously she's beautiful, but you could see there are lines, there are there are things around the eyes. She looked like a beautiful 50-odd-year-old woman. And that, you know, but she wasn't frozen-faced 29-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I liked that.
Yes, yeah. She's I think she's 7 years younger than him, which is fine. Yeah. Glenn Powell as Hangman.
Yes.
Absolutely career-making performance.
Career-making. And you know, he went for Rooster as well.
Really?
Yeah, he went for Rooster and he didn't get it.
I look and I'm sure I know him from something, but I can't quite work out what it is.
He's been in quite a lot of stuff. Apparently, he wants to be the next. He wants to be the next Tom Cruise. He's very, very openly saying, "I want a massive career. I want to be a movie star." And I think not getting the Rooster role has really done things for him.
I mean, he has that smile. He is channeling Iceman.
Yeah.
He is, like I said, he's an arsehole for the sake of being an arsehole. He's not got that Iceman.
No, because he's not, and everyone keeps comparing him to. I think he's more Maverick. I don't think he is Iceman at all. Iceman was calm and controlled, and he knew what he was doing.
But he's the antagonist in the film that comes round at the end.
He is, but at the same time, he doesn't really come round. He's still an individualistic, non-team player in that it's him who comes to save them at the end. It's not that he's become part of the team. It's still, all right, here I am, I'm coming to
but the reason they've compared him to Maverick is because he is the enemy of our hero. He is the direct rival. Direct rival of of the protagonist of the film.
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah. But I think I think if you put them together, you're not seeing the nuances in the film. And okay, there's probably not a lot of nuance in the film, but I can see it. I actually know this is not Iceman, Hangman, Iceman. Yeah, right, fine. I think there's more of a Maverick in him than there is anything else.
Monica Barbara's Phoenix?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think she plays it well.
I
wish there was more. I'm glad that they didn't do, she falls in love with someone, because that would be so easy. The fact she's just a woman, and it's never mentioned. It's never mentioned that she's a woman. The only difference is that she's got 2 X chromosomes and she wears a top during the football game.
Yeah, there's nothing there. They don't make any reference to it, and thankfully that is the case. There is another woman in the group.
Yes.
Who gets a couple of scenes in the background, but yeah, because just on that point, There's a plot point where they say half of you will be cut.
Yes.
And we don't get that scene, and I wish we got that scene where you like, I don't necessarily need them to go down the line and say blah blah, you're going to do this blah, but I needed where all of those people in the background, like the other woman, I needed a scene where half of them were gone.
No, but wasn't it just half of them were going to stay on the boat as the reserves, and that's what we see with Hangman that.
Oh, I thought it was that halfway through the training, half of them would be cut, because you then never see them again. You only see a very small group in the classroom.
Could be. I've only seen this once.
Yeah, maybe they're at the back.
Obviously halfway the training, it was cut short, so maybe that's the reason why that doesn't. You concentrate so much on Bill Pullman's son and Phoenix and the others that the rest of them get Bob, that's his name. Bob, the rest of who them his personality is he's a geek. He wears glasses and has a call sign that is just his name.
Yes, and he doesn't seem to be particularly good at his job. And you're the best of the best, but it's like he's a little bit sort of like bumbling. And I thought, well, you can be geeky without being bumbling.
In Elsa Short.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, fine.
I was shocked to find out he was
Oh, did you?
Bill Pullman's son.
Right,
I didn't realise.
when I saw Pullman, I thought, oh well, there's only one person he's going to be.
But then, yeah, there are unnamed people who we only meet.
So many unnamed people.
I was only listening to, I think it was the Rob's podcast, the movie Robcast, where they mentioned Manny Jacinto from The Good Place is in the background as Fritz. Didn't spot him. I watched all The Good Place, love it. Did not spot that there was someone I knew in the background. I mean,
the others are very, very thinly drawn. You don't really get to know anything. There's not even like with one of them like, oh, he does this or they do that. They don't even have a thing that we know them for.
To be fair, there is that in the first.
There, absolutely,
yeah. There is,
and that's why I forgive it.
Yeah, I mean, Tim Robbins' character in the first one, we don't really know a lot about him. Jennifer Connelly.
Yes,
I love her.
Well, yeah, that's fine. I can understand why you would.
And I was shocked to find out that she is... Because I thought it was just a bit randomly mentioned that she was shoehorned into this.
Yeah. Oh, she owns a bar.
Yeah.
Oh, he's been seeing her before. Right.
I have since found out that she is mentioned in the first film. And if you go back and watch it, in the bit where Goose and Maverick are being bollocked by... Strickland, yeah. James Tolerance. He says you've done flybys of 5 towers and 1 admiral's daughter.
1 vice admiral's daughter.
And Goose turns to him and goes, Penny Benjamin? And yeah.
Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. You've been busted. You lost your qualifications as section leader 3 times. Put in hack twice by me. With a history of high-speed passes over 5 air-controlled towers and 1 admiral's daughter.
Lovely.
Yeah. It works. I mean, I will be bored of that probably by the end of the week when I see the 5th clickbait article of what's the hidden origin of Penny Benjamin from Top Gun Maverick. Yeah.
But it is pretty cool to watch because we watched that scene and it was
Yes.
like, oh yeah, that's really like, yeah. But you're right. After you've watched it maybe about 10 times on Twitter, that might have gone, or someone else going, Did you know she's mentioned in the first film? But I like, yeah, good tie-in. I like the idea that they'd been on and off over time, rather than her just being someone new that he'd met when he'd come back, and also the daughter, that she'd had a previous marriage, that the daughter knew him, and the daughter knew he was a bit of a rogue. And
I am so glad that they didn't do the. At one point I thought, when I saw the daughter appear, and I was like, and
then she said, "How's your dad?"
And I was like,
"Oh,
thank God for that." Yeah, that was sorted quickly. Yeah.
And I like the fact that actually she wasn't saying to him, "Oh, you're back. Come back to mine straight away." And I really like the fact that she was like, I'm gonna make you work for everything here. I'm gonna get your money. I'm gonna humiliate you in my bar. And yes, we'll go out for some ride, but you're not walking straight back into my house. Apart from the point where she does.
Yes.
Yeah, there was some sort of build up to it, but the chemistry between Connolly and Cruise I thought was wonderful, like much more so than McGillis. Is it McGillis? McGillis, yeah.
Kelly
McGillis. Yeah, I felt there was no chemistry in the original Top Gun, and I didn't like the love story in the original Top Gun. I didn't feel it was required, and I personally didn't really feel it was required in this film. And I know it's almost like this feeling that you have to have Tom Maverick, Pete Maverick Mitchell having this love affair, because you've got to have someone that clings on to him before he goes off into the plane and he might never come back, and you've got to have someone who loves him in the background. But I never feel it's particularly necessary, but I enjoyed it. I have to say, Mark, and I said this to you, we did have one small conversation around Jennifer Connelly. Weirdly, we didn't say what we thought about the film, but I did say, the entire time she is a manic pixie dream woman, as a play on the manic pixie dream girl, because your Zooey Deschanel's of the world and those sorts of films, because she pops up looking amazing and she says something meaningful, and then she takes you on a boat because you're an adventuring man, so she must have a boat. I know you're in the Navy, and I'm gonna sail this boat. We're gonna go really fast, and I'm gonna be on the back of your bike. And every now and again, I might sort of say something to you about Rooster, whilst cradling your head. And she's just there to say, "Oh, Tom, tell me more about your dilemma, or, oh, Tom, how amazing am I at this adventuring that you love in women? And there's nothing else to her.
Yes.
Yeah, there is nothing else to her.
She's got a nice classic Porsche.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. She's a dream. She never gets angry with him. She never says, I'm really pissed off with you. You went off. You broke my heart. I'm not, They don't ever have a proper conversation. They just sort of flutter their eyes at each other, and she's like, all is forgiven, but you can see in some scenes her heart is still breaking from the last time that he left. I don't want you to hurt me again, sort of those sort of things in the eye. But that's it flittering away. You don't really get to know how she's managing financially, how she, what's happened with the ex-husband, whether she's had a bad day that day or a good day that day, or
It'd be pretty weird if she went.
No, but you know what I mean.
We had these dickheads in the bar earlier. One was called Hangman, and I don't know what his problem was. He didn't actually explain why he was a dickhead, but yeah.
You do know what I mean.
And there was this girl and this guy with the glasses with him, and
she's just there to be exceptionally brilliant for Maverick. And not for any, she's just sitting there waiting for him to drive. All that said, I didn't care.
I didn't have any problem with it.
I was like, I will go with it. I will roll my eyes at it, and I still preferred it to the Kelly McGuinness.
He's Tom Cruise. He's the least sexual person on earth. And I'm glad that they didn't do a shagging scene in it.
It was. Too.
I was happy with the post-coital.
What I really loved about it as well, and these things should not be a surprise, but she was fully clothed in that scene. She had like a top on, and he had his top off, and I was like, oh, that's really nice. We don't have like I'm hiding my boobs under a sheet shot that you often have, don't you? You often have the sort of like, oh, we're still in bed, but I don't have anything on, but here is a thin sheet to cover me. There wasn't any of that.
I don't have that much of a problem with that, to be honest. But
she had a top on, and she was fully clothed, and you saw nothing, and he had his top off. That's just really nice movement, As a woman, I just thought it was pleasant.
Do you reckon he'd just perform the striptease for her and put her off?
I think it was also like, look at me, I'm 60, let me get my kit off again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine.
So I think we've gone over the main cast. I mean, it's John Hamm who plays, like I said,
he's great.
plays
a
Krusty Dean.
Yeah.
And I do love John Hamm, and I really wish that I really wish that like Hollywood would happen for him. I'm sure he's happy just sat at home on his Mad Men money, but I feel like he could be doing more.
It's great. I thought he was good in this. Do you want to do Val Kilmer, or would you like to do the plot in the third act?
Can we do Val Kilmer first
Should
of
we
all?
do Val Kilmer? Yeah.
So I went in knowing very little about this film. And when I saw Val Kilmer's name pop up in the credits, obviously I knew of his troubles. And then when I saw his face appear on a picture, which is obviously in the
it was in the
trailer, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's it. And obviously the texting
because he can't speak, or he finds it very difficult to speak.
And I thought, I wonder if that's how they're going to keep it in there, and maybe you'll just see him at the end or something like that. When he walked into the room and there was Val Kilmer there, I welled up and started crying. And I say this as someone who has no real affinity to Val Kilmer, certainly not as much as you do.
No, well, who would?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was a beautifully done scene. I really liked it. It was a nice little, not passing of the torch, obviously, but it was lovely to see him on screen. I don't understand why he has a computer with a black background that just types white writing in the middle of the screen, but I'm sure that's televisual.
Yeah, of course it is. That's for the film.
And then I understand that they have used some techniques to create a voice for him just at the end, and because I was like, oh, well, his speech actually isn't as bad, but I understand that's not the case, and they've done that, and that's it was a really touching scene. It was really nice, and I was glad it happened. It was nice just to, because otherwise this is Ace Ventura 2, where it's Jim Carrey comes back and no one from the original.
Yeah, I loved it, and obviously I've seen the Val documentary, which was such a good documentary. I really enjoyed, is a funny word, because here you've got someone, like you say, who has these real medical challenges, and you can see how much they want to do things, and you can see the frustration, particularly with that lack of voice from someone who's who has acted using his voice for such a long time. But it was a fascinating insight into his career and also where he wanted to go and when he got cancer. And I really loved this. I thought it was beautifully done. I've found myself feeling really emotional about the fact that you've got someone who is non-verbal on the screen and the way that they showed the use of technology.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, if ever anyone's listened to our podcast before, they will know we have a son who has disabilities and we are in the process of using technology to give him a voice, to give him opportunities to make choices and to let us know what he wants and what he doesn't want. And there's so much out there now, and I often say, I'm really pleased that we have so much in terms of our technology, and as our son gets older, there'll be more and more and more. So I feel that we're very lucky to have that. And what I really loved was that representation of, you don't have to speak to have a voice. You don't have to use your vocal cords to make your point known. There is so much that you can do in your face, and Val Kilmer does use a lot of, his beautiful acting skills in his face. But just having that text on screen, I've not seen that before, where for a prolonged period, it might have been like a couple of things and then it would be gone. But that was a prolonged conversation using technology to converse with another person in the room. And I found myself, obviously with all of that experience and all that personal baggage with me, I found that being just as profoundly affecting to me as the fact of Val Kilmer on screen showing the fact that he obviously has these difficulties now. I think he has a tracheotomy, and when I saw him in the documentary, he could sort of make because he's got a hole in his esophagus, so he could press and he could create a sound, but it was obviously very painful and it was difficult.
I think
and
quite
like
often you use a
vocal thing. Yeah. But I love the fact that they incorporated that into, because there'll be a number of people out there in the world, and I was thinking about this as well. There'll be people out there who have the same thing, and I think it's brilliant representation. A show, an actor acting beautifully, being in a film that he was in many years ago. That is they're not glossing over it. They're not hiding it. They're saying, here we go, and they're incorporating it into the film. And I just found that really powerful. So I loved it for all of those reasons, but I did see it coming a mile off he was going to die. I was like, oh, this is the last time we're seeing Val. It's come back.
We obviously knew that there was a funeral coming.
Yes.
It didn't cross my mind, because obviously there's a funeral shown in the trailer.
There is, and maybe sometimes you're led to believe that it's one of the team, for example, that it's all gone a bit wrong, because they do say that a lot, don't they? Like, no one's coming back from this.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh no, one of them is going to die. One of these kids, and they're not kids, they're grown-ups, but one of these young members is going to die, and they do tease that quite a lot, don't they? Because they have is it Payback? I want to call him Paycheck, but is it Payback? The guy that he goes up to the 10 Gs, and he goes up so high that he blacks out.
Yes, Payback.
Yeah, Payback. Did I say?
You said both, but yeah, you settled on Payback.
Oh no. Anyway, yeah, Payback. So he, I thought, oh no, he's gone. Yeah. He's totally gone. And then when the bird strike happened, shortly after that, I thought, oh God, her and Bob, they're going to go. And I thought, they can't get rid of them because they had spent so much time with them. But I thought, oh, that's really clever. They've spent so much time with them. You think they're going to be like the people at the end. It turns out they are. And they're going to get rid of them. And then I thought they were going to kill Tom Cruise off.
Are we going to go a third?
Yes, please.
Well, I mean,
I was like, yes, they've killed him.
It's very heavily foreshadowed, isn't it? In that he says goodbye in a way that, I mean, like, I'm from Hull. Yeah. And even now to this day, people from Hull do not say goodbye to people. Mm-hmm. They'll say see you later because of the fishing tradition, which hasn't been a major part of the Hull industry for even since I've been alive, so over 40 years. But even now, I don't tend to say bye to people. I say see you later because it's just how I was brought up. In Hull, you don't say goodbye to people, you say see you later. And then he's basically saying, well, I'm not going to come back to...
Here I am with
yes.
my posh uniform on, and I'm just going to stare at you from across the bar, and then we'll stare out at sea.
But Hondo as well, who's the guy helping them out.
Yeah.
And he has a thing where he's like,
him.
I'm not coming back, so...
Yeah. I really liked him.
I don't believe that would necessarily happen, but anyway. And then his plane went down.
Yes.
The screen faded to black.
Yes, and I thought, God, it's the end of the film.
Fuck.
Yeah, and I thought, brilliant, that's amazing. So he's paid Goose back
Yes.
by saving his son. I think I would have preferred the film to end there. I have to admit that. I think I would have liked it to have ceased.
It took me a little while, and I spent 10 minutes going, why am I now watching Behind Enemy Lines?
Yeah.
But I'm kind of fine with it.
Yeah, so am I now.
Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous that he gets this old plane and...
and it's the two of them in the forest having a fight, and I'm like, what am I watching? Like, how has this got to this? And it was really weird. I just sort of felt like it had been tagged on, and almost like they'd gone back and shot it, because there was something about them in the forest, like, oh, this feels like a set. This doesn't quite feel right, and I couldn't quite work out what it was.
I mean, we don't know what country they're in. I mean, it's a country with
Yes.
with snow, and
Yeah.
I don't know what Norway's done to piss off USA, but
Yeah, it was interesting, was it? I liked the fact that you were left to your own devices on it, and that it was a rogue state, and you didn't get to see anything with their pilots because everyone was just in black. There was black helmets, so you could say I quite like that.
Which is the same as
yeah.
Which is the same as the original. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it went on a bit. And
when they say rogue state, I did wonder if it was like Alaska and Sarah Palin had just gone mad and started uranium farming and...
I didn't, like you say, the plot's a bit thin. I was like, I really don't care about this uranium, and I really don't care about what they do. But it's more about them as a team and coming together as a team and creating this bond between them, which I really enjoyed.
And it is the final mission from Star Wars.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Let's fire in the hole.
Many Gungans died to bring us this information.
The Gungans didn't die.
Who did?
It's Bothans.
Bothans.
Oh,
thank
Marky.
you. I don't care. It's not my thing.
Come on.
I've seen this far more than I've seen any Star Wars film, apart from maybe Return of the Jedi.
Oh, I like Little Ewoks. Best one, you see.
It's not...
Little dancing at the end.
Right. It's not the best one.
I like it.
B, dancing right until they change the music, at which
dancing
point...
at the end, and then yeah, a little dancing. And then all the Force ghosts appearing. Right at the end,
until it's
apart
Hayden
from
Christensen.
Hayden Christensen, which shouldn't be allowed.
Anyway, we've somehow gone on to Return of the Jedi.
So yeah, I could have done without it. I quite would have liked it if they had had the balls to just kill him off. But
how does that just end then?
I just like it's just maybe
just the end credits roll.
No, I would have. You would have had a fade back in, and maybe you've got Rooster giving the what's it called? The eulogy, yeah. And then they might have named something after him, and
they named the school Top Gun Maverick.
Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, I wouldn't have cared if they'd done that. I would have gone with it. But having said that, I went with what they went with because the fights were amazing. I really loved the fact that Rooster got in the back with him, and it was like father and son or friends together, and there was all that mirroring with Goose, and wow, they've put them in the same plane. This is amazing. So yeah, there were things where I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I will go with this, as you say. I just felt it was a bit long. That was the only thing. It did go, and it went a bit Mission Impossible, and a bit, sometimes it just tipped into that a little bit too much for me. But yeah, the end, the whole, here we are back on the boat, and here's Hangman coming to save the day, and yeah, all of those. I mean, I was crying my eyes out. I was properly crying.
Really?
Oh yeah, loads of bits. All the bits about with his dad, and the bits about him. I can't even remember what I was crying at, but it must have really, really tugged at me emotionally. Like it must have. I think it's the build up. I think it's the the music and the swelling, and it's so overly emotional that you just go, if you are going with it, you really go with it. And then I was crying at the end with you can be my wingman any day.
I did. Yes,
bit.
I did that.
Yeah.
I've got a few issues with the soundtrack, in that there were bits where the music cut out where I didn't expect it to, and it didn't sort of follow the narrative of cinema. When someone's struggling, the music just cut out, or there was something I've only seen it once, but there was something where the music just didn't seem to match the mood on screen, and I was looking for the music to tell me whether someone to go with it, and it didn't seem to match it. But
I didn't notice that. I liked all of the original music at the beginning, and then I was waiting for the Lady Gaga bit to come in, because she's highlighted quite early on of like music by Harold Faltermeyer and others, and Gaga. And I was like, oh no, she didn't. But she's done a song at the end that was fine.
Let It Go.
But yeah, and then it ends on this great big high, and everyone's great, and we're hugging, and
everyone giving each other a high five, like in
it's just brilliant,
Saved by the
and
Bell.
we've done it, and it's a mission that was impossible, but we've made it possible, and now we've defeated the baddies, and it's in major sense majorly reductive, but I don't care. It's like I was like 5 stars, let me watch this again.
It's not 5 stars for me.
It's
a high 4. It's just like there's little bits where you talk about the editing, but there is a moment where we go from Goose's funeral. God, that's her thing.
Yeah.
We go from Iceman's funeral to John Hamm kicking him out, to him being real sad on Jennifer Connelly's thing, to then him stealing a plane to do this back, and like 30 seconds have passed.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, can we just spend a little bit more time on these points before we go back?
It's a long film, Mark.
He stole a plane.
Yeah, he did.
How does that happen?
All the time. He does it all the time, man. And look at him. He's Maverick. He's a Maverick.
I did like the fact that he lost his undercarriage when he took off from the not Russian base. Yes, unnamed enemy base.
The little wheelie bit.
Because it takes me back to F-16 Combat Pilot on the Spectrum, which was an amazing game. That cost £15, whereas all the other games were capped at £10, and you had a massive instruction manual of how to play it. And in landing without any undercarriage, because I landed on planes at some points and stuff like that when I didn't mean to, and stuff like that. It was impossible to land. You just might as well just reset the game and start again at that point. So yeah, I know how tough it is, but I didn't have someone. I know how tough it is. Look, I feel how tough it is.
Yeah, you know all about that. Piloting that they all had to do with the cameras attached to them, that they had to learn all the editing and everything because they were in charge of the cameras.
Well,
yeah,
in my mind,
you know all of that.
In my mind, F-16 Combat Pilot was just the same. So,
wow,
get chaffs and flares. Press C and F
to
launch chaffs and flares to deflect a missile.
Well, if you want a different view on Top Gun Maverick, then I have to recommend the Movie Robcast's review of this film, because you get a very balanced set of opinions, I think, and a little bit, well, I say a little bit, a lot more analytical content than just me and Mark going, wasn't it brilliant? Oh, war. Oh,
No, I think we've been fair, and we've pointed out the flaws. For us, it didn't matter. And I think we can look beyond it, and this is a totally emotive review from us. And if this was didn't have Tom Cruise in and was fighter pilot school, we probably wouldn't be as forgiving. But yeah.
But I think the Robs did a really, really good job at looking at it in a very calm and collected manner, and actually coming out with two very different opinions. I was on the train and I was listening to it on the way home. I was really, really excited because that episode had just dropped, and but train Wi-Fi. So train Wi-Fi was 4%, 5%, and I was waiting for it to come on. And then I got really excited, and I was in my mind I was going, yes, Rob Wallace, yes. So that might give the game away a little bit about who was saying what in the podcast. But yeah, really recommend the Movie Robcast if you want other opinions.
It's funny you should mention that, because I was looking after our son while you were away this weekend, took him out for a walk, and had run out of podcasts. And then I was like, what can I listen to? And then that just pops on Pocket Casts.
Amazing.
And that was it. Yeah, that was me sorted for the next the half an hour, however long it is. But yeah, look, brilliant podcast. Listen to it anyway, but listen to this episode especially if you've got want a differing opinion of Top Gun. How long have we gone for? Because we said we'd be
what did we think, about half an hour or
Yes.
something like that? Oh, we're at 50 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Time to go.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
If you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, we are at The Honeymoon Pod. And if you'd like to leave us a review, anyway, you can leave us a review. That'd be much appreciated.
Or a star rating on Spotify.
That's another bit that we mention at this bit.
Yes.
We're getting better.
We are getting better.
It's only 220 episodes, but yeah. We'll be back at some point soon because there's loads of telly to talk about.
We're watching Obi-Wan Kenobi, we're watching Stranger Things. There's some really big TV shows out there that we need to talk about. So yeah, we will be back soon.
Yes. See you next time.
Bye.